Hello and welcome to the For We Are Many podcast. My name is Rob. Trisha is over there refilling her coffee, I believe. And welcome to the For We Are Many podcast. Tonight we have, kind of a lot, honestly. I'm not sure what we will get through and what we will have to tell you to, go to the website to keep updated with. But we had earlier this week coverage of the Amazon press conference here in Phoenix. We're going to give a little bit of a recap of that. On that same note, there was the Labor Notes conference this weekend. There was over 4,000 in attendance. And from the looks of it, it's a pretty huge thing. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. We also changed our Twitter handle. So that is now at For We Are Many Pod instead of at For We Are Many 2. Once again, that's at For We Are Many Pod. Seemed a little more conducive. All right. We also have coverage of the Juneteenth panel on freedom in the present moment, which was put on by Soma Action Conference. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. And so basically we have labor updates and, Panther coverage and Juneteenth discussion to cover today. I apologize that the stream is 2 days late. I'm in the middle of moving. This is actually going to be my last Arizona-based current event stream, so I'm pretty excited about that. Next week, I still won't be into our new house, but we will be the hell out of here, and I'll be stable at an Airbnb, so it should be a decent day to be able to do the stream. What do you got? What do you got for us to kick us off, Trisha?
Not much. I was just about to grab my phone and start sharing out to groups until Facebook stops me. I think you already covered pretty much everything that we've got on the agenda for today. Other than if anybody missed the class earlier for the Hassan Shakur political education course, that is up on our page if you want to go check that out. We're in week 5 of the class right now. And if y'all are free tomorrow night, pop into the Left Signal Boost TV channel on Facebook and take a peek at what we're doing over there on Bread Theory, reading Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States. That book is intense. I think we're in chapter 3 right now, maybe going into chapter 4. But it's definitely one of those books that everyone should read because it's unwhitewashed, unfucked up, real, true telling of history. It hasn't been sugar-coated to, make things easier for people to hear. It's just blunt, honest truth. So it kind of deserves its own trigger warning. Anywho, that's about it. We've got another Panther class coming up on Wednesday, too. That will be for the reading group.
So I guess to kick things off, that would be the Amazon press conference that happened Sunday and Monday here in Phoenix. I attended both days. The first day, we went in. The idea was to rally literally at the National Labor Relations Board, or NLRB, office in Phoenix, and instead we ended up being restricted to the lobby, which was fine. We were still pretty loud for the amount of people that were there. Eventually, they did kick us out, but I mean, the conference was already over for the first day, so it wasn't really a huge deal. We kind of just walked outside, stood in the shade, and kept our conversations going. The second day, however, Phoenix PD showed up right when the event was supposed to be starting, and said basically, you guys got to move. This is private property. You need to be on the sidewalk on public property. Well, the problem is there was no shade over there, and it was like 105 degrees because Phoenix, Arizona. But that being said, we do have a piece directly on that. I'm going to share the YouTube link in the chat here. I'm also going to share their link.
Yeah, there's a lot of good footage there. It's too bad your phone cut out on our feed, but I'm thankful others there were able to still get footage of that.
It wasn't just a me issue. I know that's not what you were implying, but I just want to clarify. Everybody had issues. The bulk of our footage came from Status Quo, who was using like an actual video camera, and that even shit out after about 15 minutes.
Right.
And everybody that was filming on a phone, which was almost everyone, was only able to take like 90-second or 2-minute clips tops.
I think they forced you guys over into the sun on purpose for that. Everything electronic's going to just shut down when it's got the sun beating down on it like that and there's no fucking shade.
I mean, at least in the shade, everybody was able to get pictures, was able to keep their phone's video rolling. But yeah, no, I do think that was 100% intentional. All right. Anyway, to kind of dive into some highlights, which is difficult because I'm going to try to, find it from my own YouTube video about it. Actually, I'll just go to Status Quo's because that's what I'm trying to show anyway.
There you go. I'm still sharing this around to other groups. Let everybody know that we're doing this today. Okay, I heard your audio come through, but your video didn't.
Yeah, I know. I haven't hit share yet. I'm looking for the right part.
Gotcha. Shared out to about 20 groups so far.
I'm just going to take it from the top. I'm not going to play the whole video, but I'll just take it from the top.
Okay.
There's that. I'm going to mute so that way it doesn't feed back.
Shame on them, right? This is after these workers here voted yes on April 1st to defeat this trillion-dollar company by over 5%, over 500 ballots. We all watched it live on Zoom. These workers here, some of the organizers here, spent several months, dedicated their time, sacrificed their time away from their family.
I also just want to point out that like how you hear it like stuttering like that is also the heat. And keep in mind, that is a full-size video camera. It's not a cell phone. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Family, your children, the loved ones, to do this campaign for this company, the company that they work for, to turn around and to their election results. So we're here in Phoenix, Arizona, all the way from New York, all the way from Staten, representing the workers in JFK right now, letting them know that this decision today, or whenever this decision is made about this court hearing, affects everybody in the labor movement, not just ALU, everybody in the labor movement. So we once again We are proud to be here with our brothers and sisters, our against workers. We're going to stop this union busting against workers. We're going to stop everything that's been going on because we are the future, the younger generation, the working class that's right now. And we are the ones that make the money. So we got to understand our value, our worth. And
So he's talking about how it's time for them to realize that the workers make them money, right? And he's talking, I mean, he's not using the terminology, but he's talking about seizing the means of production. I'm just saying. Anyway, moving on. Sorry.
understand that these companies do not run as we go to work. So we have to withhold our labor. We need to do so. Withhold our labor until they do what we need them to do. And we're essential to
labor. He's not talking about just Amazon. He's talking about this entire modern union drive, right? And withholding our labor is the biggest goddamn thing that we can do. Straight up. Anyway, continuing.
achieve it such. All right? Let's get it. 1, 2, 3.
We're out here fighting
4, our contract. 1,
We are the union.
2,
A little bit louder.
3,
We're out here fighting
4, our contract. 1,
We are the union.
2,
A little bit louder.
3,
We're out here fighting
4, our contract. 1,
We are the union.
2.
There is plenty more that you can see, both at Status Coup on YouTube and our own channels. I don't want to get too bogged down in just that video because we have a lot to cover tonight, including more from Chris Smalls and the ALU. I mean, should we do that next? Just jump right into labor notes from that? I think you're muted.
Yeah, I was still muted, but I was saying, yeah, might as well. We keep checking our way through the labor issues this week. 'Cause there was a lot going on. I'm loving seeing this, by the way. It's just snowballing of one place unionizing after another. It's blowing the fuck up beautifully.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm having a little bit of a connection issue, so I'm sorry if I bloop out into the ether again or if I'm cutting out. It's giving me the little yellow triangle of warning. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
So I just want to point out though that Labor Notes, which they've been doing this conference for over a decade now, minus 2020 and 2021. There was over 4,000 workers and union reps there. 4,000 plus. That's huge. And on top of this, and I mean, I'm not trying to discuss Bernie's electoral politics. I'm really not. But he's still out on the ground doing the fucking work. Okay, in terms of labor. I'm going to make that clear. In terms of labor,
Right.
He's fighting the same fight that he's been fighting since the 70s. Anyway, he also spoke at Labor Notes. I think that the union leaders did a better job saying what needed to be said than Bernie did. However, he broadcast the entire press conference on his platforms, right? So if you want to see the whole hour and a half conference, go to Bernie's YouTube or BernieSanders.com, whatever. It's up there. That is the main the main coverage of it that the ALU and the Starbucks union and even Teamsters and stuff are sharing. So, if that's the same one they're sharing, that's the same one I'm going to share. Exactly, Nate. Bernie's twice as old as the squad and doing 4 times as much. That's always been the case.
Right. He's always put boots to the ground, even if he needed to bring his own damn chair to fold out and sit down in. Damn it. So, he at least makes show up because just the fact of his presence being there, the cameras follow, and it puts some attention on the issues. Um, that was absolutely needed. Because mainstream media is trying to ignore the labor uprising that's happening, and it's like you can't ignore this. You can't ignore this. If industry after industry after industry is uniting and coming together to unionize their workers and they're collaborating together, you can't fucking ignore this. And
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the things I wanted to point out too. Chris Small specifically talked about, like, it doesn't matter what company you work for, what industry you're in, you need to unionize and we need to organize together.
Yeah.
Okay. And Labor Notes is kind of like a show of force of that. Like, really. I mean, that's 4,000, union reps or potential future union reps that are organizing together. They're networking, they're exchanging contact information. They're talking about work stoppages. Who would have thought that the 2020s would be anywhere as lit for labor as the 1920s?
Well, I mean, we kind of saw it coming.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, in terms of the mainstream media,
right?
Just like there's certainly not going to be a recession next year. Anyway.
There might be some revolution, though. One can hope.
So I'm gonna kick it off where I'm gonna like ignore the intro and I'm gonna like start it where the president of the Chicago Teachers Union comes up. She talks about their struggles as a union. She's well spoken. She's on fucking point, and I'm gonna let her words speak for themselves. And listen to that crowd.
Right. Didn't you say there was like 4,000 people packed in there? That's intense. I love it.
Dude, I'm taking in all of this love. Because them tweets and those letters, woo, thank you. We all need a hug, don't we? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, and I love y'all. I want to welcome you to the greatest city on earth.
Chicago.
Even with every flaw, there is no place I would rather fight for justice and equity. Welcome, to Chi-Town. The next time we got to get y'all on the south side, though, with a little flavor. That's what we have to do. Listen up, Labor Notes. It is absolutely beautiful to see each and every one of you here, and not because of the fellowship alone, but because everyone in here intends to do something when they get back to their home. You intend... You all didn't hear what I think you should be intending to do, though. You intend to go back home and transform. I need for you to know that labor is a few things. Labor is plural. We speak in we and us. Labor is action because it doesn't mean anything until you do a thing. And labor is transformative. We change all things. And the only way we change all things is if we understand the origin of power. The origin of power is in the purpose of what we do in our labor union. And in the labor world today, 2022, labor has got to be redefined to include the worker from sun up to sun down. It has got to include the workers 365, 7 day a week, 24-hour a day life. Workers suffer from police brutality. Workers have their children's schools closed down. Workers are facing eviction because housing is unaffordable. Workers are suffering under unfair immigration policies. Workers are dying because we refuse to include they instead of he or him or she or her. Workers are everyone who needs an advocate. And our labor, what we must do is add the and. You can fight for a wage and a benefit while fighting for women's reproductive rights. You can fight for sick days at the same time you fight for affordable housing. And membership means that you are a human being in need of working class love, solidarity, and unity. We don't narrow how people get in. We expand the definition of union. We expand the definition of membership. We expand the definition of workers' rights to human rights. The only people who can do this, because they are funded, because they are organized, because they are clear about what the wins entail, are workers. So workers, I'm going to need us to be bold and transformative and redefining and transforming the spaces in which we occupy, because we are workers and we are mothers. We are workers and we are daughters. We are workers and we are sisters. We are workers and. We have a duty to save this country from itself. So let us leave here. Let us leave here with the love and the motivation to rescue our union siblings and. Thank you.
I'm still muted. All right. So, I mean, she brought up intersectionality multiple times. She's talking about building power in our workplaces. That's dual power.
Yes.
Right. So, and she's not just talking about, you know, better pay, better conditions, which are important, don't get me wrong, but she's not stopping there.
Right. Better everything.
We all
of it.
Exactly. All of it. All of our base, or all of your base, are belong to us. That was for Nate if he's still watching.
Such good Englishing there.
So the next speaker was from the UAW. He was involved with the John Deere strike. And I'm probably not going to play his whole speech like I did hers for, time. There's a few other people I want to show off too. But one good bit that he mentioned was like somebody tried asking him like, well, isn't it a bit overwhelming to fight the UAW and John Deere? And he was just like, well, I'm fighting John Deere, but I am the UAW.
Right.
And that's how we need to think about unions.
Right. The union is only as much as its membership, period.
Right. And the union is only as strong as its membership.
Yeah.
So never forget that. Never stop fighting. Never become complacent. It's ironic that that advice is coming from the UAW. I mean, you know, they did get pretty complacent. They got shoved into a corner where their best bet was to like, oh, please don't close this factory. Like, I mean, you know, they couldn't get pay raises. They were trying to not get jobs cut.
Right.
Anyway.
Which all the above matter.
Right. Right. But that's my point. They've been forced, the UAW has been forced for like 30, 40 years into a corner, you know, where they haven't had the power. They haven't had the leverage. And I mean, I think that's part of what he's trying to get at is that now we do. The tides have turned. I mean, he brought up during their strike that by the end of the first shift where the pencil pushers were trying to run the machines, there was injuries and the plant was shut down. I mean, come on.
Because they're pencil push. They don't know how to operate that equipment.
Right.
You cannot replace blue collar with white collar. For one, there's far too many more of us. For two, y'all don't have the skill set. Why are the white collars being paid more? Anyway.
Anyway.
Good evening. Good evening. Is this amazing or what? So let me just start with a little bit of my unextraordinary background. As she mentioned, I'm a 12-year rank and file member. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I'm not a professional speaker. There, how about that? Again, good evening. Just a real quick recap. I am one of 10,000 UAW brothers and sisters that make up John Deere. And collectively, we represent 11 different locals across 5 states. Most notably, we stood in solidarity next to one another and struck one of Forbes' top 100 companies, and we won. It was truly Striketober for us. After 5 weeks, multiple injunctions filed against us by the company, some of which cited heinous acts like waving signs aggressively. 3 tentative agreements. We came out standing on the other side with a labor contract that is absolutely one for the record books. It included a 10% wage increase up front, an additional 10% over the life of the contract, 3% lump sum bonuses every other year, reinstated COLA with quarterly evaluations, protected pensions for all current and future employees. And we did that while retaining our employer-funded health care. Also included was some additional time off that affords us more freedom to use as we choose, not as company-imposed shutdowns. Oh, and at the same time, we were also participating with UAW's successful election of the first UAW's, one member, one vote referendum. It truly is still very surreal to look back on all of this. But what I really want to talk to you all about tonight was what was going on during our strike on the ground and what we've been doing since. In the first days of our strike, public support was enormous. The media coverage was everywhere. One local newspaper circulated a particular photo that really captured the moment. It was a dense group of picketers making our feelings known to a semi-driver who was crossing our line to deliver steel. Now, it wasn't exactly how the company had characterized us as burned out cars and mobs of strikers looting, but it was a powerful image nonetheless. I happened to be front and center of the image that was making its rounds, all 5'2", 140 pounds of me. Anyway, some members came to me about a GoFundMe that was discovered through social media. It was said to be set up on our behalf through John Deere Strikers, and it also used that image. So naturally, people assumed I was involved, but I had no idea what it was or who'd started it. Everyone wanted to know, was it legit? Was it fraud? Who gets to keep all the money, and do we have to pay taxes on it? The information available online showed that it was a group whose acronym went by UAWD. At that time, I thought it stood for UAW Deere. I reached out to the contact list, and it turns out it wasn't fraud, and it didn't stand for UAW Deere. It stands for Unite All Workers for Democracy. I was in contact with a soft-spoken woman who explained that she was a former UAW member turned labor organizer from Boston who was following our strike. She went on to explain that she worked for a grassroots labor movement known as United Workers for Democracy, and that they had started a GoFundMe with the intention of just raising enough money to load a passenger van full of water, come down and take a picture, show some solidarity, and go home. But that GoFundMe instantly exploded to something like $50,000 in the first 36 hours. She admitted that it caught some of them off guard, and so what they did was they paused the donations just long enough to make some contacts at all of our different locals and bring on support. She brought on additional resources. She brought on additional resources and also reached out to everyone they could to establish points of contact. From there, we came together and formed a coordination committee that met through Zoom.
Can you slow down a little bit for the interpreter's sake?
Oh, yes. I apologize. I will slow down for the interpreters. Again, this was 11 different locals across 5 states, a much more difficult challenge than I would have ever guessed. So at this point, having the fundamental decisions made and as much support in place as we could have possible, the GoFundMe donations went live once again. In the end, we raised over $160,000 from donations all over the world in 5 weeks. $30,000 of that came from Bernie Sanders. Mind you, he matched that donation for the Kellogg's workers who were on strike at the same time.
I want to just take this moment to say how big that is. Okay, that came out of his campaign funds, right? He could have spent that money running against Republicans, which would have been wasted money in most of our eyes, right? Instead, he put it in solidarity funds. The biggest political fundraiser that the United States has ever seen. It didn't even use his campaign funds for campaigning. He used it to build solidarity in fucking unions.
Oh, yeah, I was muted again. I was just saying, hell yeah, that's what's up.
Right.
That's what this stuff should be used for, to make sure that people have a safety net so that they can actually go on strike and fight for better terms without losing their ass.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. They had a musician play, but that's not really pertinent to this. I think this is the new Teamsters president. I'm trying to recognize it from the thumbnail. Yeah, he is the Teamsters president. I know that not all of you know who Dean is, but Dean thinks very highly of this guy. He is the current president of the Teamsters. I actually missed a good chunk of his speech, so I'm just basically gonna play till one of us decides to cut it off.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I want to thank Labor Notes for the kind invitation. This is my first time here, and wow, is this an unbelievable crowd. Now, a couple of ground rules. Number one, I have zero artistic ability like my friend right here. And I'm certain that they didn't bring an interpreter from Boston to interpret how I speak. So let's get that right out of the way. So listen, I'm a 4th-generation Teamster. I've been in the Teamsters Union for 32 years. So if you do the math, I got in when I was 3 years old, right? But the reality of it, being a 4th-generation Teamster, and I'm the only one who's ever held office in the Teamsters Union, I got a great opportunity firsthand to look at what it takes to be a good trade unionist and to be a great Teamster. And I'm very proud of my background, very proud of the Teamsters Union, and I want to give a shout out to all the Teamsters in the house. And I've never been so proud of what we accomplished as Teamsters. We took over the most powerful union, most controversial union in the country, representing 1.2 million members, and that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the power of the rank and file being involved in your union. Now, a victory, once you win, whether it's an election, once you win an organizing drive, it does not end there. Because in an election, you make a lot of promises, you make a lot of commitments, and you have to deliver on those promises and those commitments. And you have to be true to yourself, true to your word, and true to the cause. And that cause for us is to make certain that we protect, preserve, and improve working conditions for everybody covered under our unions. The tough part for us is we don't come from rich backgrounds like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, or Sergeant Schultz. Shout out to my Starbucks workers over here. Thank you for having the courage and conviction to stand up to the boss. Thank you. Now, let's get back to the Three Stooges who actually think they control this company. They were born on third base, and they actually think they hit a triple to get there. They are a disgrace when our members are clawing and scratching to provide a living so that they can put food on the table, give a better opportunity to children, give a better life, get a better life, maybe send them to college. And this fool from Amazon who, my man, Chris Big Ball Smalls, right? Took on and was the first location organized within the entire country. But it's not about the leadership. It's about the rank and file. It's about boots on the ground. It's about putting courage and conviction. It's about the workers in Amazon. Great job at Amazon. Great job at Amazon. Now these fools that I talk about, Bezos, Musk, Sergeant Schultz, they need to be held accountable. They need to make certain that they understand we do not have the money. We may not have the power. But the one thing we do have, we have courage, conviction, intestinal fortitude to take this fight to the street. Are you ready to take this fight to the street?
I mean, he's right in line with like what we're talking about here. It's time to take to the streets. I mean, you heard it from the president of the Teamsters. I would have never thought in my lifetime that the Teamsters was going to be that kind of union again.
Right. But I'm glad to see it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. All right. Who else do we got here? Michelle Eisen from the Starbucks Workers United. All right, let's do it. Actually, before I hit play on that, did you have anything you wanted to add about the Teamsters president?
Not much, other than I see why Dean loves the shit out of that guy. He's actually got some praxis. So that's what's up. Hell yeah. Right on.
Vivian is doing it. Hell yeah.
Yeah. That's what's up.
All right. On to Michelle Eisen.
I'm going to start by saying that I am far from Gen Z, but I am more than happy to fight alongside them in this movement. I started with Starbucks in 2010. I'm a production stage manager in the theater industry, and I needed a flexible part-time day job that would provide me with benefits. Enter Starbucks, a self-proclaimed progressive company that said that they cared about the environment, the community, and their workers, who they call partners. And for a time after I was hired, I believed that to be true. Fast forward to June of 2021. I, like hundreds of thousands of service workers in the US, had worked through the bulk of the pandemic, putting ourselves and our families at risk daily. And in almost all cases, the companies that we worked for completely failed us. We were called essential, but we were treated like we were disposable. And I was done. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I couldn't continue to work for a company that would so blatantly undervalue its partners. At most, I probably had a few months left in me. And then shortly after I made that decision, I received a text message from one of my fellow partners. And she asked me if I would like to get a cup of coffee after one of our shifts that week, which is weird because we literally serve coffee all day. But I agreed, and it was at that meeting that she asked me what I thought about Starbucks unionizing. To which I replied, I had never thought about it. I knew very little about organized labor, but I knew that it included very little of the service industry. But in spite of that, I asked her to tell me everything she knew, and when she finished, I calmly replied that I was interested, but I did not know how much time I was going to be able to commit. My industry was opening back up for the first time post-pandemic, and I was going to be busy with production work, but I was certainly not going to stand in their way. And then about a week after we filed our petition, I was called into my first anti-union meeting with Starbucks Corporate. And we sat in a circle in a hotel conference room and listened to Ross Ann Williams, the president of Starbucks North America, at least until today when she tendered her resignation. And I feel completely comfortable in speaking for my fellow partners when I say we are more than happy to take full credit for that resignation. But in that meeting, we listened to her tell us that we are all partners and that the company has already done so much for all of us. And what more could we possibly be asking for? And I saw the looks on the faces of my coworkers as we were being bullied and manipulated into voting against our best interests. And that was the moment that I realized that I could not take a passive role in this fight. That not actively working against my coworkers was not the same as standing with them. They concluded this meeting by giving us the facts, and that if we needed more information about the union, we should contact one of our union reps. And so with my heart pounding, I raised my hand and I said, I'm a partner organizer, and I would be happy to answer any questions anybody might have about the union. And there was no turning back from there. And on December 9th, 2021, we won the first Starbucks union in the US.
I'm still muted. So obviously that's the part of the speech that I wanted to get there. Okay. What was that date she just gave?
Sorry, what?
What was that date she just gave?
I don't know.
Hold on.
I believe it was last year. I don't recall what date.
And there was no turning back from there. And on December 9th, 2021,
Yep, December 9th, 2021. Since December 9th, 2021, there has been over 150 Starbucks locations that have unionized. And the bulk of those are in the last like 2 months. Like it is like an avalanche. And then you got Schultz saying, you got Howard Schultz saying Starbucks will never recognize the union. Well, you
They're
just
not gonna
did.
have a choice.
Right. Right. Well, if you weren't going to recognize the union, then what union are you talking about? Huh. Sounds to me like you already are recognizing it.
Right. Like you just had to acknowledge their existence to make that sentence. So,
Yeah. And then
one of those things of reminding them that they don't have a fucking business without the workers. So still going to sit here and be like, we're not going to acknowledge our own workers, because that's what he's really saying in that sentence. And it's like, well, you can acknowledge your entire business bottoming the fuck out when everyone goes on strike and you don't make any fucking money anywhere.
right.
Your choice.
So well, actually, I don't know that I can pick a favorite out of these speakers, to be honest. They're all on point.
Right.
But of course, you know, one of the keynote speakers, other than Bernie Sanders himself, was Chris Smalls. I'm not going to play his whole, 15-minute speech, but I am going to give you a good clip of it, and then I guess that we can watch part of Bernie's speech too, because that's all that's left. But I don't want to give him too much time. We are not Democratic shills.
Should have stayed an independent, Bernie. Anyway.
Well, he technically still is, but 2020 really threw that into question, though, didn't it?
It really did. It really did. But shit happens. But
Right.
again, he did what he needed to do of getting some cameras turned the fuck on in this conference.
All right.
Workers in the house. What you talking about?
Paul Smalls.
Thank you. Labor in the house. The union in the house. Workers in the house. That's what I'm talking about. My first labor notes, and I want to thank you all for bringing the ALU out here. This is our first one together as a union, because in the first time on April 1st, 2021, in 28 years of Amazon existence, we won the first union in American history. And they gotta recognize we won. That's right. Solidarity with the ALU, ALU. Where my ALU at? They in here? My ALU in the building? I see you. And, I could give a speech, but this is more of a call to action. I think this is a call to action right now. That's the vibe I'm feeling here at Labor Notes. And, yeah, Jeff Bezos, they messed up when they fired me. I want to take this time to connect everybody. We should have a moment of silence. We don't do that often. It's important that we stay connected spiritually as well, because that's what's gotten me here. I know as an organizer, we all sleep deprived. You better be. If you ain't sleep deprived, you ain't doing nothing. That's a fact. So let's take a moment of silence for those who lost their lives in the pandemic, those who lost their lives to gun violence, police brutality, the war, abortion rights, everything. You can go on and on. Let's do that for 10 seconds. Solidarity, y'all. Thank you. Now I want y'all look to your left, look to your right. Say, I got your back. I got your back. I got your back. I got your back. Damn right. Let me tell you something. So I got a lot to talk about. I don't know, I got 8 minutes, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Right now, as we speak, we're in day 5 of probably the most important court hearing in the country as regards to labor right now. And I'm talking about the Amazon labor union versus Amazon.com. We're in court right now. We're on day 5. And the first day I jumped on the call, there was only 100 people on the call in the entire country. Labor, I'm talking to y'all. Y'all support us, right? Y'all were inspired by the win, hopefully. And like Sean said, just because we won the election, the work is not over. We just getting started. Just getting started. So I need everybody, hold on. I need everybody. You claim to be in solidarity with workers. You claim to be in the labor movement. You stand with us, one you, injury to all, right? We need everybody on Monday. Log on to that Zoom link and attend that court hearing. Because it's from Monday until whenever the hell. Because Amazon does not want to recognize that we beat them on April 1st. They filed 25 objections, making up all types of shit. We giving out weed for votes. We giving out this, that, and the third. Yeah, we socialize. Of course we did. It's legal. But guess what? We won. We beat them by over 500 ballots. The workers that are here in this room from Staten Island, they here. Pat's one of them right here in front. He flipped 500 people. They fired him. Don't clap yet. Don't clap yet. Because they just fired him. They just fired him after learning. So this is what we're up against. When we let up off the gas, when we come down off our high horse, when we get in tune or we get distracted by other things that's going on, they pounce on us. They divide us. They shut shit down. They destroy our movements. That's right. That's why I'm wearing this now. Got to remind them every day. We got to stay together. The labor movement. It's not just the Amazon labor union. It's not just Chris Smalls and what am I doing. I don't care where I'm at. If I'm at the White House, I don't give a damn if I'm at Times 100. I don't care if I'm on Trevor Noah. I don't care if I'm on 60 Minutes, Dr. Phil. I don't give a damn about none of that. Because guess what? I'm here with y'all. It's a fact. So on Monday, call to action, the labor notes. My first labor notes, by the way. Call to action. I need everybody. Take a couple minutes. The trial's from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's been like this for the last 5 days. Guess what? I can't even attend it. Their lawyers got us removed. The union that won, we can't even attend our own court hearing. This is the money and power we're up against. This is the corruption we're up against. So if we can't be there, we need our comrades, our brothers and sisters to be there for us. Now don't tell me y'all not familiar with Zoom, because y'all all have been on a Zoom call. I've been on with some of y'all, majority of y'all. I've been on Zoom calls with you. So I need y'all to log on one more time. We gonna share the link. We gonna share the password. And at 10 a.m., I don't want to see 100 people. I want my lawyer to text me and say 4,000 people showed up on that Zoom call. It's that simple. And not just Monday, the day after, the day after that, the day after that, the week after that, the month after that, until we win this court hearing. And we're certified. Because let me tell y'all something. What y'all think will happen to the labor movement if Amazon workers win a contract? Are y'all serious right now? If we fight for this contract, and I'm not talking about no $15. We passed $15. We won 30. We won 30. We win a contract. We win a contract. Guess how much better the other contracts in this country is going to be? Starbucks workers, they need a contract. The new girl workers, they need a new contract. The Teamsters, they need a new contract. Everybody want a new contract. Well, I'm telling y'all this, help us get one first. I promise you. I promise you. I promise you. If we win a contract at Amazon, Apple, Google, Starbucks, Walmart, Dollar General.
Apple organized their first location today. Like won their first union election today. Anyway, you get the point. I actually don't think that I'm gonna play some of Bernie's speech just because we're already an hour in and I still have a lot to do tonight.
Right.
And I don't want to, overlook the other stuff either. There was a Poor People's Army conference on Sunday, or was it Monday? No, what am I talking about? It was fucking
Today's Sunday.
Thursday. Yeah, was it Thursday or Friday? It was
Thursday or
Friday. Friday was the march, right? Or was that Saturday? I don't know. There was so much this week that it all ran together in my head.
Yeah, this week has been the struggle of the juggle for real. So many things going on. But yeah, that conference was on point too. There was a lot of good speakers there.
I know that there was the Juneteenth panel that Soma Action did. So that was on the 16th, which was Friday? No, Thursday. Okay. So yeah, that was the same day as the first one. The statement on Ukraine, the Poor People's Army. There we go. Right? That was the same day. That was the one that we weren't able to broadcast.
Yeah, video out afterwards. Do you have that footage right on hand? If not, I can pull it up.
I don't.
Okay.
But I wanted to just show a short video. This was from the following day, so Saturday. No, Friday, I mean. Jesus Christ. This was from Friday. Chairman Zulu of the New African Black Panther Party, the United Panther Movement, and the Second Rainbow Coalition spoke at a march in Newark, New Jersey that involved 52 different organizations. There was over 20 speakers. I mean, we just have footage of Chairman Zulu, which I mean is totally fine by me. I wish that we had more, but it is what it is. But it was the Juneteenth March and Rally for Reparations, Justice, and Democracy. They marched from the seated Lincoln statue at Market in Springfield to Newark City Hall. And then, as I said, there was like 20 speakers. And, you know, it was organized by like 52 organizations. You can find this at forwearemany.org. Actually, I'll drop that in the comments real quick. To answer your question, James, Left Signal Boost TV is a collective of a bunch of us. We are part of it. Zach is the founder. There's a bunch of organizations involved in that.
Okay, I have the press conference with the Poor People's Army and the Black Alliance for People up here. So.
Oh, I was gonna do. Well, that's fine. Go ahead.
Well, if you have the other one ready, then go ahead and we can do this one next.
All right.
Okay.
I'm actually, just to plug our website, we are at forwearemany.org. All right. As you see, we just embed the video right in there. We do that. For that matter, we're going to be playing catch up next week with getting the rest of our coverage from last week posted. There was just too much with too little planning on our part. So, yeah, there will be more coming.
I said all power to the people. All power to the people. Boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. All power to the people. Today is a great day. Not because we are assembling here today, but because across America, oppressed people are assembling to remember their identity, to remember where they came from, to remember the blood, sweat, and tears that went into erecting or architecting this racist, white supremacist state. So that's why this is a historical day. I remember reading when I was in a prison cell in 1865, Gordon Granger arrived in Texas to tell a story, to tell a message, to deliver a hallelujah to the people. And when he got there and he talked to these brothers and sisters who were enslaved and told them that they were free, you know what was on their mind? Building a Freedmen Bureau school. That was on their mind. You know what else was on their mind? Acquiring some land. You know what else was on their mind? Acquiring that daughter or that son that was sent up south. And so these are the moments in which we electrify and mobilize our own individual spirits to come out here to fight because they fought. They didn't stand by. They didn't petition. They didn't beg. Imagine that turn to saying, let me petition the slave state before I rebel against him. So I want to say, brothers and sisters, the New African Black Panther Party is out here because we are a revolutionary organization. We have a community center on South Orange Ave. It's called the Hassan Shakur Community Center. We feed the people. We fight for those who are displaced. We fight for prisoners. We fight against pig brutality. We fight against racism. If you want to join some revolutionaries, come on South Orange Ave, 309 Hassan Shakur Community Center. All power to the people. All power to the people. I said all power to the people. All power to the people. All
just so I don't mispronounce and misspell it, can you say your first last name? I go.
Shaka Zulu, S-H-A-K-A, Zulu, Z-U-L-U. I'm from North, born and raised here in the city of North, New Jersey.
So what brings you out here today?
Well, I came out here because our city is yearning for change. Our city is yearning for help. We think that the housing struggle in North is very important. 51% of our houses are owned by corporations. And on a day in which Juneteenth celebrate our struggle from slavery and white supremacy, we thought it was nice to come here and register our concerns, which is we don't only just want reparations. We also want a complete and total investment in the community based on our 10-point program, which calls for education, which calls for free and complete health care, which calls for anti-military aggression, and we also call for, which is very important, an end to police brutality. And this struggle right here is, in the 21st century will determine whether we live in this city as residents or whether we're pushed out. And this is why we're here today, the Black Panther Party, and we're standing in unity, and we're making sure that they hear our message.
So what's Juneteenth mean to you personally?
Oh, Juneteenth to me is it means everything. I remember sitting in a prison cell and trying to understand how did I arrive at a prison cell. And I remember a brother coming to me saying that here's a book on the Black Codes. The Black Codes talk about the criminalization of black people right after slavery. In fact, brought them right back into what they call penal slavery. And when I read that book and I was able to make the connections between me sitting in a prison cell and the historical development of this society, I began to sit back and realize I was a victim of injustice, of racism, of militarism. And so being here today on the outside, not in prison, and standing in unity as a revolutionary means everything to me, because I was a criminal before. Right up the street, I was stealing and robbing, cheating. I was preying on the people. I used to jump out of my car and sell drugs. Right up the street right here, with the prison for 50 years. Came home, and now I'm giving back in a progressive way, in a productive way. And the masses of the people respect that, and we're trying to get this enemy here to respect that as well.
Thank you for speaking to me today.
Oh, power to me. Thanks to meet you too.
So, Natalie, I put the link in the comments for the new African Black Panther Party People's Store. They are shipping them. It's not just locally. The shirt is $20. The shipping is $5. No problem. All right. If you have the next one, I said it in the comments, but I want to say it again. I love watching Chairman Zulu speak. Seriously.
I love his whole vibe.
Yeah, for real. And he's real about it. For those of you that may be more interested in, the Panther Party, go to, I guess I can drop the link in there for that as well. But the new African Black Panther Party has a page. So does the White Panther Party, the United Panther Movement, the Second Rainbow Coalition. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you're ready, I will go ahead and hit share on this one. This is the Thinking Brain, Their War is Not Our War conference. So go ahead and pull that up here. And if I remember right, I'm sitting there for a minute waiting for people to join the stream. So give me a second to find the point where it actually begins. There we go. Almost.
Make sure. Yes. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the press conference, Thinking Beyond Ukraine, Their War is Not Our War. My name is Nepha Freeman. organizer in Organization Pan-African Community Action, PACA.
Can we pause just for a second?
We want to thank you for attending this joint gathering of two leading organizations dedicated to advancing people-centered human rights through agency of the people. It's important, especially in the upcoming March on Washington this weekend. It's important that everyone is reminded of the historic task we face in this country, being at the center of empire and being members of and organizing with groups and people suffering from structural violence of capitalism and colonialism. This press conference is being held by the Poor People's Army and the Black Alliance for Peace to lay out some important crossovers between anti-poverty work and anti-war work. And we'll have 3 speakers for about 5 minutes each. Then questions from the press and audience, prioritizing the press. And we ask that everyone keep their questions to 30 seconds. And then and that's pretty much that's how we're going to do it. Let me say some speakers that we have who will be addressing us today. We have 3 important people who are going to be addressing us today. First, we will hear from Pastor Keith Collins, a graduate of Geneva College and also holds an MS and MS and Doctorate of Ministries degrees from Friends International Christian University. Pastor Keith is an ordained minister with the Inner City Faith Congress and the Lancaster Mennonite Conference. Pastor Keith is a marathon runner and cyclist and also serves as an officer in the Army. He's an organizer in the Poor People's Army and has done extensive organizing with Delco Coalition to abolish death by incarceration and others against the criminal injustice system. We also will hear from Ajamu Baraka, the national organizer for peace, and also the 2016 candidate for vice president of the United States on the Green Party ticket. Baraka serves on the executive committee of the U.S. Peace Council and leadership body of the United National Anti-War Coalition, also known, and the steering committee of the Black is Back Coalition. And last but not least, we will hear from Sherry Honkala, a formerly holder of the leader of the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign, and before that, Kensington Welfare Rights Union. Sherry gained fame when she was a homeless mother breaking into abandoned government-owned houses and occupying them in order to survive. Sherry has traveled internationally to meet with peasant movements and revolutionary leaders. She ran for vice president of the U.S. With Jill Stein for the Green Party in 2012, and she also ran for sheriff of Philadelphia in 2011 and Pennsylvania House of Representatives in 2017, both on the Green Party ticket. Sherry is a founding general in the Poor People's Army and an elder advisor in the Second Rainbow Coalition, of which Poor People's Army is a part. So we're going to go to our first speaker, Pastor Keith, and then everyone's going to have 5 minutes. I'm going to be timing it, and everyone will be timed, and then we're going to open up for a question and answer. So, Pastor Keith, thank you. You might want, you have to, you're still muted. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm awesomely excited to be here with these 2 wonderful, marvelous organizations. And we're here to talk about what is most important to us, which is liberty and liberation and freedom. So I'm here to say a few moments from a faith-based perspective, being a pastor for over 40 years, being a part of Empire, and then being against Empire. As was stated, I've served in the United States Army as a paratrooper. I've served as a law enforcement officer. I've done a lot of things to support the Empire, but I've had a catharsis, had an epiphany, and I realized that the words of Christ really were about Christ, when he said in Luke 4:18, the Spirit of the Lord God upon me, because he had anointed me to heal that which was broken. He's anointed me to give liberty to those that are bound. So this gospel message, particularly from those of us that are faith practitioners, must be a gospel of liberation. And someone once said, why is it that we reject the charity model? Shouldn't the church support charity? Well, the reason we reject the charity model is very simple. Charity is vertical. Charity is from the top down. And in charity, the people that are on the top remain on the top, and the people that are on the bottom usually remain on the bottom or very close to the bottom. We believe in a faith-based model that celebrates solidarity. Solidarity is always horizontal. It respects all those around you, and it respects each other, each person as our equal. And it is not a condescending agenda, but it's an agenda that empowers everyone. And this is why, from a faith-based perspective, we really need to have an agenda that understands that we cannot create this revolution that we're talking about, that Dr. King was assassinated for in 1968. When he talked about reparation, when he talked about wealth redistribution, that's when he was assassinated. We need to take upon ourselves that mantle and become the faith leaders that are not in love with notoriety and power, but they are in love with justice and empowerment of those that are the least, last, and the lost. So it's in that spirit that we stand in solidarity with the PPERC and with the Black Alliance for Peace, because we fully understand that this movement will not be funded by foundations. It will not be funded by multinational corporations. It will not be funded by philanthropic people. It must be a people-led, people-driven revolution, and we must have faith leaders that are in complete alignment with that agenda. So it's in that spirit that we're proud to stand here today in this conference, and we do celebrate the work that's being done by Black Alliance for Peace and PPERC, of which I have been a very proud member for several years, and continue to serve in whatever capacity they would have us to serve.
Thank you, Pastor Keith. That was, you still had some time to go, but that's all right. We can shush it out in the question and answer. Next, Brother Jamu Baraka.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nat, for stepping forward to moderate this very important gathering, very important press conference a few days before this gathering of organizations in the capital of the United States of America. That's why we're here this morning. So thank you, and in particular, thank you, the People's Economic Human Rights Campaign, that has been at the forefront of the domestic struggle for human rights in this country. And especially want to acknowledge the visionary leadership of our dear sister comrade, Sherry Hunkala. It is indeed an honor for BAP to be a part of this gathering, to lend our voice to call for a shift in priorities away from the cult of death and oppression represented by the policies of this administration, from the streets of Philly to the completely avoided, and we say in BAP, the manufactured war in Ukraine. We say this morning, our gathering this weekend to supposedly challenge the state's continued avoidance of the issues of poverty. That poverty and its eradication cannot occur without the acknowledgement that it would take fundamental structural change by popular forces that are independently organized, prepared to challenge the entrenched power of capital operating through the duopoly and currently through the neoliberal Biden administration. Dr. King reminded us of the connection between racism, material capitalism, and militarism. He referred to these as the giant triplets. He reminded the movement of these fundamental relationships and declared his opposition to the war in Vietnam. That declaration earned him the wrath of the entire liberal establishment and had his taken from him 1 year to the date of his declaration to break with the silence on Vietnam. This ultimate sacrifice is a model that must be assumed if one is serious about human rights. One cannot have one foot in the establishment, echoing its most backward positions toward Ukraine, other foot with the people, declaring solidarity with the people suffering from the rapacious greed and violence of a ruling class operating through the two capitalists. One has to make a choice. You are either with the people all the way or with the enemies of human rights, democracy, and global social justice. Today, PPIRG and BAP declare our firm commitment to the life-affirming values of equality, social justice, cooperation, participatory democracy, self-determination, and non-oppression, represented by the people-centered human rights framework. However, we recognize that we are not going to realize people-centered human rights by just criticizing the rulers or begging for them to recognize human rights. We understand that the realization of human rights must come about as a result of struggle. That's why BAP is joining hands with PPIRG in their efforts to build a poor people's army, a non-violent army dedicated to grounding the working class and poor people in the people-centered human rights framework, and collectively, through our own agency, creating the conditions where we can experience the full range of human rights. People-centered human rights are those non-oppressive rights that reflect the highest commitment to universal human dignity and social justice that individuals and collectives define and secure for themselves through social struggle. The people-centered framework proceeds from the assumption that the genesis of the assaults on human dignity that are at the core of human rights violations is located in the relationships of power, the relationships of oppression. The people-centered human rights framework does not pretend to be non-political. It is a political project in the service of the oppressed. It names enemies of freedom, the white Western supremacist, the Western white supremacist colonial capitalist patriarchy, demands for clean waters, a safe and accessible food, free quality education, healthcare, healthiness for all, housing, public transportation, wages, and a socially productive job that allow for a dignified, the ending of mass incarceration, free childcare, opposition to war, and the control and eventual elimination of the police, self-determination and respect for democracy. All of these aspects are some of the people-centered human rights that can only be realized through a bottom-up mass movement for power, building power from the bottom up. That is the task that we face and the historic responsibility that we must own for ourselves and call on everyone to recognize and come off the fence.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Brother Jamu Baraka. And now, please, if we can hear from Sherry Ankala of the Poor People's Campaign for Economic Human Rights.
Good morning. Today is our day in the Poor Human Rights Campaign, and as poor people across this country together to hold statements to announce the breaking of our silence, regardless of the fear or consequences that will result. We're honored to take this step along with the Black Alliance for Peace and our dear pastor, Pastor Collins from Church of the Overcomer. We have no choice to be here today, not because we want to be here, but because we have to be here. We are here because we have a responsibility to our ancestors, our brothers and our sisters struggling for survival at home and abroad. We come here on the days before the weekend where many children, like my son, will grieve their fathers on Father's Day because this system and this reform path that people have decided to take never gave them a chance at having a life. The drug war has taken more people's lives than during the Vietnam War. My son doesn't weep alone this Father's Day. He weeps with children in Palestine, in Yemen, in Africa, in Venezuela, all over the world, because we continue as a country to kill the dreams of children all over the world and here in Kensington. From the poor in Kensington to the poor suffering all over the world, we stand with our brothers and sisters. We see you. We hear you. These wars of sanctions and allocating billions for war while you go to bed tonight hungry and homeless. We must come together to say no, put an end to all war, to put an end to all sanctions. How dare we stand by as billions are spent on war when our children, their children continue to suffer. We are tired of our going without water, going without health care, going without food, being shot down record numbers in the streets, and having no place to lay their heads. Today, we are committed to reconfirm our commitment to building a poor people's army, a poor people's army to put an end to poverty, hunger, and homelessness once and for all, because it is entirely possible in our country. Our country has plenty, not just for those of us living in this country, but in other parts of the world. And we ask for your support in building this poor people's army. We will have a boot camp in Philadelphia in August. At that time, we will map out our plans, taking back land, for taking back housing, for taking back food, for taking back all the basic necessities of life. Incrementalism and reform have been killing our families, have been killing our dreams, our futures for our children and children around the world. And today that process stops. We will no longer agree to be the poor people that fill the buses, that go to Washington, D.C., that sit down and beg to change what's happening in this country. We will get organized from the bottom, put boots on the ground, and we will take back our basic human rights. We will educate people about a people's-centered human rights approach, and we will ensure that no longer that we will cooperate with our death, our incarceration, and the killing of our dreams and the killing of this planet. New billionaires are minted every 26 hours as inequality contributes to the death of one person every 4 seconds, while every 11 minutes, a child between the ages of 16 someplace in this world takes their life. We will no longer sit down with our oppressors. We will liberate ourselves and live up to our historical duty of doing our part for our ancestors and our children.
Thank you, Sherry. Okay, we will move to going to open it up to question and answers. Remember, we want to prioritize those of the press. This is a press conference, but we're not closing it off to other people. If you can put, you see the we put in the chat a couple of times. If you can put in the chat that you have a member of the, and then we can call on you if you have.
Sorry, give me a moment to find the spot where Shaka spoke.
That'll tell us you have a question, but you're not.
I think it's right before the Q&A, which is I think it's like right after he gets done talking, because it was like, I don't know, it took him a minute to realize that he was on mute. I think it was. We all know how that is. Fucking Zoom. It just says iPhone. If you're looking for his name, you're not going to find it. I don't know who you think you're talking to, Gangboy2222, but we're not even talking about inflation right now. And I don't think that anybody is talking about Ukraine right now either, but we're not blaming Russia for inflation. I don't know if you think that we're Democrats, but we're not. I don't even really know.
Still muted. It was like a jinx moment. Like we're both like, yeah, we're not at the same time. Okay, I've got this just a couple seconds before Shaka spoke, so I'm gonna reshare that screen and hit play here.
Endeavor, aside from supporting the individual groups.
And wait, that might be where Shaka was still trying to figure out that he was.
I'm here now.
Oh, there he is. He's off mute.
They just unmuted me. Thank you. This shit was Zulu.
Oh, okay. So, should we, let's. Hello? Shaka Zulu, you maybe having technical problems.
All power to the people. There we go. It just unmuted me again. Thank you,
Okay.
Conrad. Thank you, Sister Sherry, and thank you, Brother Ajamu, for allowing me to make this statement on behalf of the Rainbow Coalition. So our statement simply is, and it's short and it's brief.
Okay.
Joint statement of the Second World Coalition on U.S. policy in Ukraine. The crisis in Ukraine did not suddenly erupt in a vacuum, but was created by a deliberate policy of the United States, stretching back years. The policy of expanding NATO to the east, despite assurances made that it would not advance 1 inch. The policy decision to destabilize and overthrow the democratically elected government of Ukraine in 2014, and the policy decision to prevent a negotiated settlement of the internal civil war that these decisions instigated have all played a major role in creating this crisis. The oil companies and military contractors are reaping super profits from these policies, but the vast majority of people in America have nothing to gain and everything to lose by them. Our interests and those of the capitalist imperialists who run this are exactly opposite. They control the political parties and the mass media that lies to us constantly. They think we are idiots who have no minds of our own and that we will passively accept our lot as wage slaves and cannon fodder. We say another world is possible. We say it's time to get organized and to start building people power from the grassroots up. The Rainbow Coalition is about building community-based people's power into communal solidarity. And we are also not into the game of picking the lesser evil. So we say, brothers and sisters, all power to the people, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to join y'all in this solidarity.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for that statement. We're going to try to get in the last questions. We want to go back to Julie's question about how do we build how's a joint effort supported beyond supporting the individual organizations? Sherry, you want to go first? If you have, which one of you have want to?
And here we go. I hadn't even noticed that part yet. I was busy trying to mute the screen share. Give me just a moment. There was another point where Shaka spoke that I'm going to grab.
I think that one can support the individual formations as a necessity, I think.
At least I thought I saw another one.
But also it's important that
maybe not. Okay, never mind.
The poor people's army is information that
Okay, that was all of it. I thought I saw another spot, but I didn't. That was something else popping up on the screen. It's hard to see on that little icon. But anywho, don't let the troll derail the conversation. Seeing the comments.
I mean, I don't really have anything to add. I think that Chairman's, well, it's not just his statement, it's a joint statement from the Second Rainbow Coalition that has been in the works for a while. As you know, there's what, like 7 member organizations, something like that. Yeah, I mean, obviously that took a while to put together, but I think it's a principled take, and I think it's the correct take. But of course, everybody's got their opinions. I don't know. The Ukraine situation has gotten exhausting to talk about on social media specifically. Like, you say anything like neutral or even like maybe hinting at thinking about leaning pro-Russia, and you just get attacked by a bunch of trolls.
Right. It's like you can't even call out the Ukrainian Nazis for the genocide they've been committing since 2014 without somebody being like, oh, you just love Putin. Like, no, I can't stand Putin. He would get the wall too, but fuck those Nazis. You can be, fed up with both of their bullshit at the same time. It is possible. This was, at least as far as, the statement Shaka put out and some of the other things that were addressed, like during the Q&A through that, it was a matter of, why are we allowing our government to fund a bunch of Nazis for their fucking war over there when we got people here who are homeless, hungry, the whole 9 yards? It's not our war. Although, it kind of is if you look at the fact that our government helped fund it in the first place and started the shit because they funded Maidan, the Nazi coup that went down in 2014. So, we've been throwing billions at Ukraine for 8 fucking years. About time we throw some billions down here for our own crises that are going on. For fuck's sake.
So I guess.
Oh, we have another troll. Hi, the block button's our best friend.
Already done.
Yep. Toodles. Anyway.
Wow. Anyway, the only other thing that I really want to talk about tonight, because even though we're already a little over schedule and I'm in the middle of, doing the final cleaning of the house I'm moving out of, I want to talk about climate change. The flooding up at Yellowstone Park. The ridiculous temperatures throughout the last week across half of America almost.
Right.
And I mean,
a few points on their map, it was the majority of the country was in deep red of heat wave, excessive heat wave here, and the only parts that weren't being touched was like the very northwestern tip at like Oregon and part of Washington, a little fleck in like the Laguna Beach area, and a little fleck over here in Maine. Everything else was just heat wave. So, more than half the country at certain points through the week. It's fucking insane.
And then, between record-setting rain and snow melt, like, it's good. Yellowstone Park is not going to be reopened this season.
It's hit. They called it once in 1,000 years storm, you said?
A 1,000-year event. Charlie, I'm not sure like what you're getting at, but if you don't know what the solidarity fist means, then I don't think that I really have the time to explain it to you. To put it bluntly, or to put it shortly, not bluntly, to put it shortly, you see, one finger is easily bent or broken, right? But when the people come together, they're much stronger.
That.
Thank you.
Oh.
Anyway, so there was record-setting rainfall in Yellowstone Park, and the snow melt, obviously. Yeah. Thank you, James. Why isn't it black? Are you kidding me?
Anyway, it's black and red.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of sad that you already blocked him, because I was going to be like, the red is for fucking socialism, but
Anyway.
Oh
my
man, I'm sorry, that just derailed me so bad. So we're talking about record-setting rainfall, and on top of the record-setting rainfall, it's while the snow melt was still happening. What happens when rain falls on snow and melts it, right? So then you have a ridiculous amount of water flowing through a canyon, right? And it washed out several parts of the main road through Yellowstone Park. And yeah, they're calling it a 1,000-year event. And yeah, Charlie, I'm a socialist. Ooh, big scary S word.
I know, right?
You know what that means?
Socialism is the people. As
Exactly.
Chairman Fred said, if you're scared of socialism, you're scared of yourself. You're scared of the people.
Hold on. I'm going to try to use this as a educational moment. Give me 2 seconds.
I'm the deputy chairman of the state of Illinois Black Panther Party.
And then we can just call it done, honestly.
And a lot of people don't understand the Black Panther Party's relationship with white mother country radicals. A lot of people don't even understand that word that Eric uses a lot. But what we're saying is that there are white people in the mother country that are for the same type of things that we are for stimulating revolution in the mother country. And we said that we work with anybody from coalitions, anybody that has revolution on their mind. We're not a racist organization because we understand that racism is an excuse used for capitalism, and we know that racism is just a byproduct of capitalism. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people, and we're going to have to put it back in the hands of the people. Everybody in the state of Illinois is going to have to be involved or even around the revolution because we're going to have one. We're going to have to do more than talk. We're going to have to do more than listen. We're going to even have to do more than learn. We're going to have to start practicing, and that's very hard. We got to start learning, and you learn through practice. We got to start making mistakes, and you learn through making mistakes. We got to start getting out there with the people. And a lot of times we think we're better than the people. That's an insult, and that's criminal. Think you're better than the people. We got to get together and learn where it's at. It's going to take a lot of hard work. Education for children is something else. You ought to dig on it. Every sister in this audience. Every sister in this audience ought to get themselves together and come on down and help us with that Education for Children program. Y'all to come down and help feed them children in the morning.
Anyway, he said that we answered his questions, so that was just a little bit of an educational moment for Charlie. I think he's moved on. 12-time Republican on Twitch said, hello, how's your day?
I'm doing good. We were just about to wrap up the stream, though. You got here a little late.
Yeah. To the rest of you, have a great night. We will be back next Friday at the usual time.
Didn't matter when they sold the devil guns. Didn't matter when they played us strike. Didn't matter when they stole your mother's son. Now everyone's out of their mind. Bullshit, he's unemployment.